Hey, I dropped into it was a talk or more like a conversation put on by the developer, I think the Facebook developer group of Kingston the other day, right? And on the call, I think there was this manager from, I think he's a manager from Google. And the question was asked about whether or not he thinks this is important, like get a formal tech degree, etc., to go into tech. If it makes sense to go and get the degree versus getting the certifications. And his answer was interesting because is similar to mine, and it's not one that's very, I don't want to say common, but it's often seen as gatekeeping. So this term I've seen it being thrown around Twitter quite a lot when people share their perspectives. It's not. It doesn't have to be correct, right? It can just be their opinion based on their circumstance or their experiences. A lot of times people jump on and they say this person's being gatekeeping or this person is gatekeeping. Basically, saying this is the barrier you have to pass to get into tech or to be good. But I have tried to stay out of those because oftentimes I see it ignoring the fact of what that person's experience is, right? So this person's response was that you should get the certs, etc. Of course, they're truly valuable, but he would recommend that people also get that degree because it shows that you can learn, and there are instances when this degree will set you apart from others. I'm from Jamaica. In the environment that I am from and I grew up in, traditionally, you needed a degree to do so many things. And often, so people are doing their degrees, they're getting it, and there are even no jobs in their field, right? So I'm not, I guess there must be people in tech that are unemployed or underemployed because the number of companies seeking people is not that big. I would say that it's limited. The market is limited, and that's one of the reasons I left about 7 years ago, right? I was recruited basically 7 years ago. No, back to the point. Um, in terms of having a degree or having the certifications, my opinion is that do what you need to do for the market that you're in. When you go on Facebook or Twitter or wherever else you follow people and you hear them speaking of their experiences, and sometimes you see tweet mocking those things like, oh, I'm a mechanic by day. In 1 week I did this and I became earning six figure, etc., etc., right? People are also speaking of their experiences. There are people who in the US have been able to successfully transition from a non-tech job to a tech job and in a short space of time. And it has truly changed their lives, and their earning power has increased dramatically, and they've made it step just by working hard. But again, you cannot discount the environment you're in. It's super hard for you to say to someone from Jamaica or someone from Nigeria or someone from any small country anywhere else that all you have to do is get up and rise and grind and learn and put in the work and they get the job, because it's not always true. If you have the degree and have those certifications, you may be looked upon more favorably than persons with just the certifications. Similarly, if you have the certifications and a strong portfolio, someone may want to hire you, but their organization may have this thing that you have to have a degree, which is something that exists in many, many countries today. It is something that's just been phased out here in the US. So while I would tell people, go and get those certifications. If they're already in the process of getting a degree, I personally would not tell anyone to quit it and just go do the certifications, because that's all that matters. Yeah. So, I follow Black Tech Twitter, Women in Tech. I follow a lot of hashtags, and many times I see the views or opinions or questions, and I refrain from answering, because sometimes people are just not open to other people's experiences. They channel persons the answer that you may give just based on their individual experience alone. I do remember once someone was posting about changing their life, go and get that tech money, and I mentioned that my first tech job I made approximately 400. It was less than $400 at the time. Uh, a month, my first job out of university. after doing my degree, etc. And someone retweeted my comment and put something like this, like scoffing at what I was saying, right? And try to drag other people in, and someone had to come in and say, hey, why are you knocking her experience? Not everyone is speaking for her, from the San Francisco tech startup, and the hub, Berlin hub, or not everyone has the experience, and everyone's experience is valid. Saying that, I personally, if someone can do the job, if they show that they also can learn, I'm open to giving that person opportunity. If it was me, I have a bachelor's in computer science. I have a master's in computer science. I've done so many certifications, not all of them like certified, from this agency. I've done a lot of like Coursera, Udacity, Codecademy, as well as the Java certification, etc. And I've also found that if you're not using something, you actually lose it. And that would be the same for the degree, because over time, after leaving university 13 years ago, you have to continue with that. Similarly for the certificate, right? So yes, things are changed. um we are now seeing where the path to get into a tech job, it's way clearer, right? We're seeing the opportunities. There are more, especially now that Corona has shown people that your tech people can work from home and they can be efficient from home. And now that companies are seeing that, I hope that they realize that they have opportunities to pull in talents from all over the world. They can pull in from Jamaica, Costa Rica, Nigeria, Ethiopia, wherever you want it. You can pull that talent and work on a plan to get people on the same time zone and working with you, right? And you know, validating degrees is such a complex process anyway. I hope that goes away in some form, with companies accepting more certifications, etc. All in all, you shouldn't be knocking anybody's path into the job, right? Whether or not they went and got a degree or got a master's and they're saying that that's the path that worked for them, that is valid. Whether or not they did a couple boot camps, that is also valid and is validated once they find someone who is willing to hire them. However, someone saying, you know what, go and do that master's is not invalidating anyone else's experience, because to migrate to some countries, they want you to have that degree. Not every country has removed that requirement yet to go on. They have to validate that you have some kind of skills. It is something that I've heard touted that the US is looking into, to the kind of like the program that Canada has, where what's the name? But basically, if you have certain level of education and experience, you get certain more points, so that you can migrate with your family, right, and become a permanent resident. So don't knock someone else trying that path either. I think it should be open conversation around um, whether or not the degree is valid. Well, it is valid. The degree is necessary, or whether or not a company wants to have to use that as their gate, right? Similarly, they have the whiteboard interviews, and we could go on and on about that. Location, people are saying we wanted to work in or live in this particular location, which we could argue, all day about whether or not that is valid, but it is what it is. We go through different paths to get where we are. And I personally have wanted to contribute to discussions, and I know people would have probably said, based on how it is going, well, you don't understand the struggle because you had a degree or whatever. But it is still a struggle, and it is a struggle that is especially felt by people from markets where the economy is just not so strong, and the competition for people with degrees is just super high, right? So you're going to find your cashiers with a degree, So many people underemployed, right? So it's not all rosy for people with degrees either. And people telling you that, you do a little bit more, do the degree still, they're not trying to knock your game, and they're certainly not trying to knock your hustle. And if you feel that way, have that discussion with that person. But there's some value to be added as well, in learning from other people's experiences and the why that they did that. Chances are I would not be in this job I'm in now without a degree. Um, I wouldn't have been relocated to the country I'm coming from without a degree, because that was part of my validation process. You had to bring your degree, and they did some background check to validate your education, and it was part of proving that you're a skilled worker. And so yeah, it's still valid. It's definitely still valid. Would I go for a PhD? I don't know. I definitely don't think so. I don't think that's something I want to dedicate my time to. But if I found that there was an area that I felt like I could contribute significantly to the area of tech, I would go and do it just as well. All right. So that's my thoughts on the whole debate around getting a degree or getting that cert. It is very market dependent, and we don't invalidate each other's experience. We don't assume someone is gatekeeping because they're telling you that this is what works for that situation that they've seen and their experiences, or that's what worked for them. Um, it's Everyone has to go their path, their own way, and you as well. If you see that the job that you want, it has certain amount of requirements, you have to take that path, right? You have to aim for what works in your country or your town or your dream company. So, okie dokie, go ahead and get your cert, get your degree, get your money, do whatever you need to do to get into tech. Thanks.